Hi guys, all of you received the graphic for this week's lecture, and the title of this lecture is Give Me 60 Minutes and I'll give you the key to this week's assignment, and that is what we are going to do today. I am your instructor, Misty Porch. Welcome to PRG 140. We are going to have a blast this month, and we are going to learn all about database design, and we are going to talk about this week's assignment today, and tomorrow we will go over the assessment. I just wanted to say hi guys. Not only am I your instructor this month, but I'm also your FPA. Most of you probably have already realized that, but for those of you that didn't make the connection, I am your FPA as well. And we're gonna have a lot of fun together this month. So let's get started. First off, I want to talk about the best way to contact me. You can email me. Email is the best way to contact me. As you know, as your FPA, those of you that have utilized emailing and text messaging me, I get back to you very quickly. So the easiest way to get me is through email because it comes to all my devices. So it doesn't matter where I'm at, I'm going to get that email. Second best way is, of course, to text message me. It comes to all my devices as well too. As long as I have my cell phone somewhere in the vicinity, it comes to all my devices. So text messaging is a great way to get in contact with me as well. And I absolutely email, text message. Those are my favorite things to do. Most of you have received, all of you have received an email from me at some point. Most of you have received a text message from me at some point too. You can also use the course chat in Canvas. Just remember that everyone will be able to see what you type in there, but if you're just needing help with an assignment or you have a question about an assignment, you can absolutely use the course chat. You can also call me at 817-909-5597. But if I am in another lecture with another student, helping them with another class or so forth, I may not be able to answer. That's why email and text messaging are the fastest way to get me, because even if I'm in another lecture or with another student, if there is a break in what we are doing, I can email you back right then. So usually you get a response from me, if not instantly, within 15 to 30 minutes. You have a response from me through email or text message. Whereas if it's a phone call and I have to return it, it may take me a little longer to get back with you. But be sure to leave me a voicemail so that I know who's calling me and what you're needing. Today's agenda, just as a reminder, our next lecture is tomorrow, and you will all be receiving that invitation today. But tomorrow we will meet at 12 p.m. Mountain Time. And today's topics, we are going to go through the class expectations. We're going to talk about installing MySQL Workbench, setting up the database, and the key to this week's assignment, which is introducing SQL, the SQL select statement, the SQL where clause, and the SQL count function. We're going to go through all of those and take a look, and you won't have a single bit of trouble with your assignment this week. And then we're going to reflect on what we learned today, just to make sure we kind of solidify that into our memories so that we can use it and recall it when you're doing that assignment. Let's talk about the class expectations first. They're really pretty simple. I expect 5 things from you guys. Communicate with me is the number one most important thing you can do. Make sure you're communicating with me. If I send out an email, please respond to me. If you can't make a deadline, be sure to let me know. We'll talk about that a little bit more in just a moment. Turn your work in on time, guys. Don't make me give you late points because you didn't get your work in on time. turn it in on time. I'm going to give you everything you need in the lectures. So as long as you're watching them, whether it's the recording or you're attending live, you're not going to have a bit of trouble with your assignments or your assessments. Participate in the discussions. Be sure to note and read the discussion I wrote this week, because I gave you some direction on how to handle your discussions that may be a little unlike what you're used to. So be sure you check out that discussion that I posted that kind of gives you some directions on what you can do. I think it's going to make it a lot easier for most of you. Learn something new every week. Make that a goal to at least learn one thing you didn't know before. Even if that means simply understanding something that you didn't get the week before. Well, that's okay. You learned something new that week, even if it was taught the week before. Set a goal to learn at least one thing new every week. And have fun learning SQL with me. Don't get anxious. Don't get upset. Don't let anxiety and confusion and not understanding a concept affect you like that. Reach out to me, guys. Reach out to me and tell me I'm not getting this, I don't understand, it's not working, and let me help you. Learning should be fun. It should not be something that stresses you out every week. And I like to make sure my classes are stress-free, which I do that by making sure you get everything you need to complete an assignment or assessment in the lectures. And the second thing I do is making sure I am available to you when you need it. So all you have to do is reach out to me and let me help you. Don't get stressed out over these assignments or assessments. What to do if you can't meet a deadline? Guys, here's my policy. This is what you need to do. You need to email me before you miss the deadline. Your email must include the following things. You have to tell me, one, the reason you're missing the deadline. Quite frankly, guys, I don't really care why you're missing the deadline. I care more about the fact you've let me know you're missing the deadline. So don't fret over whatever reason it is you're missing that deadline. That's not my biggest concern. My biggest concern is that you've let me know. My second biggest concern is, when will you have that assignment or assessment to me? This must be exact. Give me a day and a date and tell me when you're going to have that assignment or assessment turned in. And I'm going to give you that extension. That way I don't have to deduct late points and you don't have to suffer because something happened and you couldn't make the deadline. Because trust me, guys, I get it. I was a student for a very long time. I had got an associate's degree, 2 bachelor's degrees, and a master's degree. I was in school for a very, very long time. And I worked 2 jobs, went to school, and was a single mom. So trust me, everything you experience, I have experienced at least once while I was in school. So don't be afraid to ask for those extensions. Hi, Debbie.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us. Okay, guys, I am going to before we get started on installing the MySQL, I'm going to do a quick poll because I just want to know where everyone's at. So, if you will, just answer the poll, and then we will continue on. For those of you that are watching this recording, if you would just shoot me an email and answer this question. Do you have any knowledge of SQL? Yes or no? Or some? And just let me know where we're at, because that kind of helps me plan our lectures and how in-depth I need to go and that sort of thing. You're not expected to have any knowledge yet, but I know some of you may have some. So I want to make sure I hit on new topics for you while also introducing everything that everyone needs to know that doesn't have any knowledge. Thank you. Okay, so let's kick off this lecture and getting those keys to the assignment with talking about installing MySQL Workbench. Now, I've gotten a few emails from a few people that's had some issues, so I'm going to go over all of those during the lecture to make sure that everybody gets it. You have to install MySQL Workbench. Some of you have previously taken PRG 140, and so you were probably expecting this to be in Oracle. And it was rewritten. I rewrote this class, guys, and we are using MySQL Workbench. Why? Well, I will tell you why. What you guys download for this class prior was a free version of Oracle. It is not a version you can use as a professional because you're going to have too many databases. And Oracle is a very, very expensive. It actually costs to use Oracle. MySQL Workbench, on the other hand, is 100% free, and you can have as many databases as you want. Most small and medium-sized companies are not going to be able to afford the prices you would have to charge to design their websites using Oracle. Because, of course, you have to figure that price into what you charge your customers. Oracle is expensive, like really expensive. It is the most expensive database management system out there. It's also very, very popular, especially with larger companies that have extreme databases. Can MySQL handle those databases? Absolutely, it can. But Oracle is the go-to. And it uses SQL just like MySQL Workbench does. There is a few differences, but not many. It's just MySQL Workbench is free. So those of you planning to freelance definitely need to know MySQL Workbench. Those of you that plan on being hired by an employer, well, MySQL Workbench is on a lot of those job postings online, as is Oracle. But if you know one, you're going to know the other. I just wanted to make sure we've kind of got an overall that would suit everyone, and Oracle is not going to suit all of you. So I went with MySQL Workbench. It's my go-to. It's what I use. And it's what I used when I worked for Imagineity, the largest web design company in Dallas. And we used MySQL Workbench. So that is what I rewrote the class to use. And that's why you're having to download MySQL Workbench. So you're on the home screen. Let's go into our classroom here. On the home screen, if you scroll down, there is a MySQL graphic. You just click on it, and it's going to open up a zip file. And you're going to need all of these files. So you can extract them to your desktop, or you can put them in a class folder. It's completely up to you. And then you're going to open up the installing the MySQL Workbench. Come on. Oh, my Microsoft Word is going to be a little slow. There we go. You're going to open it up and you're going to just follow the instructions. Now, you note that in step 1, it tells you to download WAMP, install on your computer. This first link is the link to the actual WAMP server, but I have had plenty of issues with that I had plenty of issues with that link, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Because the link is actually a UK website, and so sometimes it comes up, sometimes it doesn't. But you can also download it from SurgeForge. That's where I downloaded it from on the computer I just did a few days ago. I downloaded it from SourceForge and worked perfectly. There's no add-ins or anything like that. So you can download it from there too. And installing WAMP is very simple. Just follow the wizard and it's done. And then you're going to move on to MySQL, downloading the actual MySQL workbench from that link there. If you follow the instructions I give you, a step-by-step. Now, this is where the troubleshooting comes in. Because I have had a few people have issues with, they tried to install MySQL and it told them they needed the Visual Studio libraries.
Yep.
When that happens, it is not talking about the Visual Studio software, the application that some of you probably already have installed. It is talking about an actual library. If you go to your web browser, I simply typed in MySQL Workbench says I need Visual Studio. That first link it pulls up is the one you want. And it'll tell you the resources, the pre-requestees is, some of you got a .NET framework error too. I just got an email about that. You can click on whichever one of those you need and it will pull up both those tabs and it'll say, okay, website looks the same on either one and you're just going to download it. This is the one for Visual Studios. And you're just going to scroll down and download the one in English and then do a computer restart and then install Microsoft Workbench and it will work just fine. Now then, once you have Microsoft, once you have everything installed, you are going to have to set up your database. And there are instructions for setting up that database. Let's go through here. I've done the instructions to setting up the Colonial Adventure Tours database. You are going to follow these directions right here. Now then, I do want to show you one other thing because I get an email about this every time that I teach a class that has Workbench and MySQL. When you open your Workbench, if you do not already have your WAMP server open, this is what's going to happen. You're going to click on your local instance. It's going to say, come on. And you're going to get a screen that looks just like this because your server is not started. It's going to say no connection down here in the bottom left-hand corner. All you need to do is start your WAMP server. Give it a second to boot back up here. Come on, turn green. I'm just going to close this tab out and go back to MySQL. And then you can click on local instance and it'll open up perfectly fine. So now we need to open up that database because we need to install it. So we are going to go to my desktop because that's where I extracted everything. And I'm going to find the SQL file. There it is, right there. I'm going to right click on it, go to open with, and I'm going to choose MySQL Workbench.
Mine's outside playing. Huh?
Come on. And if it doesn't open like that, you see mine didn't open. It happens sometimes. You can go to File And you can do open SQL script. And then find your desktop wherever you saved it at and double click on the file and it'll open. And there it all is. So now you have to run it. This lightning bolt right here, all you have to do is click it and it's going to go through its little process. Move my bar out of the way here. It's going to go through its process. Just kind of scroll through there, make sure everything has a green check mark. And I think I might have accidentally installed that in my sales database, and that's not what I wanted. Let me open it up again. Let's see where I installed that. Customer, yep, I accidentally installed that in my sales database. My customer's gonna love that. Okay, I'll have to fix it. I forgot a step, guys. Sorry about that. I think the steps in the directions, though. Let me make sure it's there. Yeah, create a new schema. That's what I did not do. So I'm going to go up to the top here. And this database icon, the three little circles, looks like a tube. You're just going to click it and name your database. And I'm going to say apply. Okay. Create schema. Yep, that's what I want to do. And finish. So there's my database. I'm going to highlight it blue and go back to my SQL file and hit that lightning bolt. Come on. Go. Hit that lightning bolt. And insert guide values. Looks like we have something red here. What happened? Create a table guide. The one thing I dislike about the latest update to Workbench is when you create tables, you have to get out and come back in order to see them. So we've got our customer, we've got our guide, we've got our reservation, we've got our trips, and we got our trip guide. Which one are we missing? Reservations, guide, and our customer. I think it's the date. Let's take a look at this. When you see those little icons beside each table, if you click on that very last one, it will show you what's inside that database. As you can see, it didn't pull anything in for the reservation. Well, let's take a look at the guide. That looks fine. Customer. Nope. That all looks good, but there's nothing in any of these. So that means I have a bit of an issue. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to right click on this and drop it. Something didn't go right the first time around. It happens, especially when you're using an SQL that already exists, like this. So I'm going to do this again. Oh, yeah. Oops. Just okay, now back to my SQL. I want to, first of all, I want to clear. Here we go. Now I'm going to hit a lightning bolt and let's see what happens. The table guide number, character 4, primary key, last name, error code. No database selected. Oh, yeah, it's right. I haven't selected it. Okay. clear. And Colonial Database, double click it. There we go. And it ran. And no red lines this time. Yay! But as you can see, the tables look empty. I'm going to have to go back to my home button. Click on local instance again. Let it open up a new tab. And then all of my tables are here. So now we can actually see everything we imported, and this database was created for us. Thank goodness you guys don't have to type all this out. And so it's all done. Our table is created. So now we've got everything installed. We've got our database done. So now let's talk about that assignment. Anybody know what SQL stands for? It stands for Structured Query Language. Very simple. And the reality, guys, is SQL is very simple. The hardest part about SQL is remembering the parentheses and the quotations and the commas and the semicolons and when you need them. That is the hardest part about SQL. Otherwise, everything else is pretty much common sense, and you're going to understand why I'm saying that in just a second. So let's start with what SQL does. You can access and manipulate databases all with SQL, meaning you can add things to a database. You can retrieve things so they display on the screen. You can delete data from a database. You can make new tables, new columns. You can assign attributes like this column all has to be characters. This column all has to be numbers, that sort of thing. You do it all using SQL. So what can SQL do? Well, it can do a lot of things. It can execute, retrieve, insert, update, and delete. SQL became the standard of the American National Standards Institute, ANSI, back in 1986. And it's now the International Organization of Standardization, ISO, and that happened right at the end of the 80s. I think it was like 1987, which was a big thing because what that essentially means is SQL is the world standard. Not only do we use it here, but we use it overseas as well. Everyone is using SQL. You can also create. So why do web developers use it? Well, we use it for quite a few reasons. Essentially, we use it to show data on a website or to collect data from a website. What type of websites can you think of that display data on their site? Can you think of a website you visit that utilizes data? Think about how many of you use Facebook. We all use Facebook, right? At some point we're using Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn or Behance. Or how about Netflix or Amazon or eBay? We all visit those sites and utilize them at some point. Guess what? They all rely on a database. That's how the messages we display or that our friends display show up on our pages and things like that. It's all done from a database. What about collecting data? Can you think of a website you visited recently that collected data? Every time you buy something on the web, a database has collected your data. They've collected your name, your shipping address, your billing address, your credit card information. Every time you sign up for a website that requires you to create a username and password, they've collected data. They've collected your name, your phone number, your email, sometimes your address, depending on the site, your age, your sex. They collect all of that information on top of collecting your username and password. It's all data. We are in the age of big data because everything that we do online in some way or another is collecting data. Every time we buy something online, every time we sign up for a newsletter or a free gift, or we sign up for a new blog or a new social media site, they're collecting our data. Stop and think about that. The reality is, if you collected every single piece of data that every single website had ever collected on you.
See, there it goes.
Astronomical. It's huge. And we don't realize that when we're on the web. It's not something that you normally think of, but that's the reality. Everything we do online, they're collecting some sort of data, even if it's simply what we are looking for on a website or what we searched for through our web browser. They're collecting that data. And it's you. It's either you're assigned to you by name because you've somehow or another given them your name, or they're using your ISP as the address and it's being stored, but it's still information about you. It's kind of, when you stop and think about it, it's kind of wow. You just don't realize how much information we give away every single day. And companies are collecting it. Why? So that they can better give us what we want. So that our ads are more personalized and show things that we normally buy online. Have you guys noticed that lately? Everything seems a lot more personalized. You look for something the day before, you're searching prices on a certain item, and 2 days later you pull up some random website and suddenly the things you were searching, they're in the ads and they're for sale. Have you guys noticed that? And it's simply because they are collecting data on us. And they are finally figuring out how to use that data to make our online experience better. So they think. I still don't care for the ads, but you know. So what do you need to create a database? Well, there's a couple of things you need. An RDBMS, a database program, something like Oracle, SQL Server, or MySQL. RDBMS stands for Relational Database Management System. It is the basis for SQL and for all modern database systems such as SQL Server, IBM DB2, Oracle, MySQL, of course, and Microsoft Access, which is the simplest of them all. The data is stored inside the management system, and it's kind of divided into objects like tables, and those tables have columns, and all of the data in each table is related to each other in some way. And that's what we're really going to be concentrating on this mod, is the actual design of the database. How to determine which data goes in which table, and how to create functional table and column names, that sort of thing. So we also need to use server-side scripting language like PHP or ASP.NET in order to connect to that database and get it to do what we need it to do on our website, whether that is to collect data or to display data. And we use SQL to get the data you want. You use SQL to either store that data or select the data you want to display it on particular parts of the website. And of course, we use HTML and CSS to style the page so that it's just attractive. That's just as important as a working page, right? It has to look good. Not only does it have to work, it has to look good. Otherwise, no one's going to use it. When's the last time you used a website that wasn't attractive? I ask this question. I have a student that's getting ready to graduate, and we were kind of having a discussion on what to expect and you know, the important parts that play into web design versus everything she learned in school and that sort of thing. And I asked the question because we were kind of debating on whether the design skills were really important to web design. What do you guys think? Do you think the design skills you're learning in the graphic arts classes are important to your goal of being a web designer? Those of you watching this recording, please email me. Let me know how you feel on that subject. I agree. I absolutely agree with you, Debbie, that yes, they are important. Because I want you guys to stop and think about something. The last time you were looking for a product that was not sold by your go-to place, Amazon, eBay, or the price was too high on that go-to website. And so you were searching to see if you could find it somewhere else. And you found several websites. The cheapest website had the part cheap, was great, but the website looked like it was designed in 1980. Didn't look real professional. It would be what we would consider or call a hole-in-the-wall store. This was a hole-in-the-wall website. Do you think you order from that website, or do you go to the next website that was a little more expensive but looked professional? Which website, which place do you choose to buy your product from? The one that looked professional. Absolutely. You're not going to pick that hole-in-the-wall website that looked like it was done in 1980 and looked very unprofessional, even though their product was cheaper, because the other site seemed more trustworthy, right? Because it looked professional, so they got to be more trustworthy. Now, is that true? No, it's not. I mean, in the end, that's not true, but it's how it makes us feel. That's why those graphic design skills are so important, because your websites have to look good. They have to be attractive. They have to look professional. Otherwise, your customer is going to be really unhappy because he's not going to get anybody utilizing that website the way he wants. They're not going to buy things. They're not going to sign up for newsletters and so forth, because they don't have that professional feel. And therefore, users won't think that company is trustworthy. That's why those design skills are so important. Now, I will step off my soapbox and we will continue on with our keys. Okay, so now we know what you need to get a database done. So now let's dive into talking about these SQL statements. The select statement is pretty simple and it's pretty straightforward. The select statement is used to select data from a database. The data returned is stored in a virtual table, if you will. Kind of creates its own little table to store whatever data you've retrieved with that select statement. There is also a statement called select distinct. That is where, let's say you have a database that has, well, we could take the sales rep database here that we're looking at our sample. You can see that all of these have a state of California, CA. Let's pretend there's another entry down there that has a state of Montana. And you need to display the rep for Montana on a specific place on the website. And you want to do it the most efficient and quickest way possible. Well, using that select distinct statement, you can do it that way because it's very quick. Because what that statement does is it returns only distinct, different values, meaning it won't duplicate a value. So if you had a, for instance, if you had a, what would be a good example of the distinct statement? When's the last time I used it? Let's say you had a movie database, something like Netflix. And movies, a lot of movies have the same name, right? We see it all the time. Lots of movies have the same name. But you want a movie by a particular director. So what happens if you do select movie name? You would do select this table, you would select this column name, movie title, from the movie table where the movie, what column did I call that? The movie column. Where the movie column equals Make My Day. Well, what if you have 20 movies in Make My Day that are named Make My Day? Well, if you use the distinct column, it's only going to return one. So basically what that distinct keyword does is it takes out any duplicates. It will only return one thing. It's really good for when you have a lot of stuff listed by cities or postal codes and things like that, and you only need to know what the postal codes are, but you don't want them to be duplicated. I used it on the mailer not long ago. That's what I used it on. I was trying to remember. That was it. I used it to figure out all the zip codes that were going to be mailed to. Well, the list had 50,000 names on it. That is a lot to go through and trying to figure out every single zip code when a lot of those people lived in the same zip code. It was a lot. It ended up being 25 different zip codes. What I did was I did select distinct postal code from my customer table, and I ran it. And guess what? It only pulled up 25 zip codes, although there were 50,000 people on that list, because it doesn't duplicate. It will only pull up one of each criteria. One of each, basically, is what it boils down to. When it only returns the different values. If the value is different, it'll put another one in there. Otherwise, it will miss anything that's the same value. Does that make sense? So you only get one example instead of 50,000 examples of each zip code. It would only return one of each. Make sense? So let's talk about this select statement, because guys, you're going to be using the select statement on your assignment. Just about for every single question. You're going to have a select statement. And how it works is select column name from the table name. Pretty simple. Or if you wanted to select the entire database, you could use an asterisk. It's a little shortcut that allows you to select every single column. Instead of having to type out every single column name, you could just put an asterisk there and it will select them all. And then it will display the information. Or you can tell it to select multiple columns. Say you need 2 columns to display, but not the rest. You could say, okay, select column name 1, column name 2 from whatever table you're wanting to pull it from, and it will pull only those 2 results. Here's the example. SQL, in this rep table, we have a rep number, a last name, a first name, a street, a city, a state, a postal code, commission, and rate. We want to select the last name of every single rep in the table. So we write a statement that says select last name from the rep table. And our results is a list of the last names. So let's look at that in regards to our table. So let's pick a table here. We're going to say, erase all of that. I'm going to go select. I want to see what our table names are real quick. Let's see. Let's select the postal code for each one of our customers. Go back here. I'm going to open a new SQL file here. There we go. Select. Postal code from customer. A semicolon. And run. And there is my list of postal codes. Now let's look and see if we have any that repeat here. I don't think there are actually any repeating postal codes on our list. I don't see any that are the exact same. So we're good there. So there's our entire list. So what if we wanted to select our, first name, comma, and the postal code. I'm going to run this again. And there we have it. We have the first name and their postal code. And I could choose any of those columns. If you have trouble remembering your column names, you can hover over the table, like our customer table, and you see the little icon. It has a little wrench in it. It's a little circle that has a wrench inside of it. And you can just click on it, and it will open up a new tab for you, and it will show you every single one of your columns. And then you can just go back to your file before and change it to whatever you need. So this time I'm going to say first name, last name, comma, phone. And that gives me a list of all of our customers and all of their phone numbers. The select statement is very, very simple. And again, it's pretty straightforward. Select which columns you want to select. Tell it which column name you want from. Tell it which table you want it to get that column from. And it'll do it for you. So now let's talk about that where clause. The where clause is used to filter records. And the clause can be used to extract only the records that fulfill a specific condition, that meet a specific criteria. It can be combined with an and or not operator, which we will talk about in a second. The and or operators are used to filter records based on more than one condition. And we'll go through that, and I'll show you some more examples of that in just a second. But let's look at the example of this SQL and what it actually looks like. So it's basic, starts with that whole select statement. Select the column name from what table. And then you say where. Where the column equals this is usually how it works. Where the column name equals whatever you want it to equal. And of course, you can add two conditions like, and it starts the same select statement. You're going to use that select statement every single time. And you can add a condition where condition, the column name equals Raphael, and the postal code or the state equals Montana, because maybe you have two reps that have the first name of Raphael. But you only want to choose the one that's in Montana. So you could do a where clause that had and, or you could use an or clause. And we'll talk about those more. The only difference in the setup for and or not is the not operator is done before the condition. You would say where not condition equals, and that means you want to pick everything except for whatever the condition is that follows that not. So maybe we want to select all of our reps except for the ones that have a zero balance in their condition. So we would say where not commission equals 0. And it would pull every single rep except for Janet. In the example here, we have just done a simple where clause. We want to select the rep number, the street, the city, the state, the postal code from the rep database, of course, and where the last name equals Campos. So what do we get? We get 15, which is his rep number. We get his address. We get his city, his state, and his zip code. That's pretty simple, right? And it's pretty simple to do in SQL. So let's go over to Workbench and say, you want the first name, last name, phone number for customers where we're in our customer table. Let's see if we have that. Yes, we do. Let's see where. Let's pick a state. NH looked like it had plenty of people. Where state equals NH. And I need to erase that semicolon after from. Semicolon always goes at the very end of your last SQL line. And I run it, and this is what we have. Well, we've got 3 people with a state that equals NH. That's pretty good. So I could say state equals NH, or state equals MN. Now let's see what we get. Still only those 3. Let's go back to our customer table here. MA. There we go. Let's change this to an A, rerun it, and we get more results. Why is that? Why didn't I just use an and? Well, because a state doesn't have 2 states. And we'll talk about that and operator right now. And the and operator displays records if all the conditions separated by the and are true, which means both conditions have to be true. So if I was to put and there, that's basically saying choose all the states that have GA and, or that had, what did I use in my SQL, that have NH and MA in the state column. Well, we don't have any states that have both those states in the column, right? Each one of them only has 1 state in the column, not 2. So we have to use the or in order to pull them both. An and statement is like our rep table example here. We want it to pull the states of GA and the city of Fulton. Well, that is Megan Grady because she lives in Georgia and she lives in Fulton for the city, but all the other ones live somewhere else. So if we did that to our database, and let's go to our customer information here. Let's see, there's an ME Rome and an ME Athens. Okay, so we want to say ME and city Athens. And that pulls up our one customer that lives in Athens. Instead of pulling up all of our customers that live in that same state. Which is 2. We pulled up the one that lives in Athens only. That's what and does. Both conditions have to be true in order for it to produce results. Whereas your or operator will only display the record, will display the records if any of the conditions are true. So I could say where city equals Grove or city equals Fulton is going to pull up both people. Or if I wasn't sure about something, and I've used it in these instances, in cases like this, where the customer has called me and it's been 6 months since I've worked on the database and says, hey, I need to run a new report. I need you to add a report to our website. And I need it to pull all the customers from Texas. I can't tell you how many times this has happened. And I think we have some customers in Mexico. I want to pull them all. You think? And when I do things like that, I tend not to charge the customer a whole lot because, you know, they're supposed to give me specific information, exactly what they want kind of thing. And so I don't charge them enough to have to go back in and relook at that database. Sometimes I do because I'm thinking, yeah, that's not possible. That's not in the database. And I have to look to confirm that. But when I get things like that and the customers I think we have in Mexico, and we do something like this, where state equals, let's see, in this case, I don't think there's any customers in Texas, but we're going to say, or state equals, we know there's customers in Maine, and run it and see what we get. Well, there's all the customers. There's not any customers in the list that are from Texas. They're just not there. But there's the report. He didn't have any, and he didn't. That customer didn't have any customers in Mexico. And I was like, yeah, no, you don't have any in Mexico. But this is a simple way and quick way to solve those kind of things. When you're not sure that even exists in the data, because let's face it, guys, the databases you will be working with as designers, as web developers, customers are going to send you databases that have 50,000 lines or more of data on it. It's not going to be 10 or 15 lines of data that you can easily scan to find information. You're going to have to utilize SQL to find this stuff and display it so that you're not trying to look through 50,000 records to find what the customers want and figure out how to customize a query that will do exactly what they want. You have to use SQL. And so and not come in very handy. I want to list all the customers except for the ones that are in Maine. So I would do a simple statement that said where not state equals Maine. and run it, and it's going to pull every single customer except for the ones that are in that state. And it's pretty simple. So let's talk about that not operator. The not operator displays a record if the condition is not true. It's that simple. If it's not true, it won't display it. So now then, one function left to go. We're almost done. It's a little over my 60 minutes. Sorry about that, guys. But just one more function and we're done. You're going to select count, your count function. Now on your assignment, you're going to be asked to count a few things. You have to count, and it's really easy. You're just changing your select function and you're adding the word count. Select count, column 1 from table name. Or you can give it a condition. You only want to count a certain thing. Select count, give it the column name you want to count, the table name you want it to count from, and what the condition is. For example, using our rep table again, select count, rate. You notice those parentheses. When you're using that count function, your column name must be in parentheses. So we're selecting the rate from the rep table, and we want to count how many of our reps have a rate of 6 cents. And it equals 3 of our reps have a rate of 6 cents. So what if we want to know how many of our customers, I'm going to close out a few of these tables here so we don't have so much to look at. Let's see. We have our trip and season. So let's say we want to select count season from our trip table where season equals summer. See how many trips we're going to take in the summer. Run it. Uh-oh. We've got nothing. Still nothing. And you can see down here it says, wait, error code, function, Colonial Adventures count does not exist. Did I misspell season? Let's see. Nope. Select count. All right, wants it lowercase and not uppercase. Okay. It can be uppercase. Select count. Season. Yes. From trip where season equals summer. There it is. 14. I must have had a typo. 14. We have 14 trips scheduled for the summer. So there's our trip. We've got some reservations and we've got dates. So maybe we want to see how many, and this is actually on your assignment, guys. And this is kind of a tricky one, and that's why I'm showing it to you. So we're going to say select count trip date from reservations where trip date equals we want to see how many, I think the question is how many are in July. So we want to do 2016 -07 dash star. We may have to use 2 stars there. We'll see if this will pull it up. And so we're going to check it. Look, nothing. And it tells us select count, trip date, reservations, where trip date, and does not exist. Let's go back here. (2016) space 07 space without the quotations. Why without the quotations? Well, because these columns, let's see, it's our reservation table. Do we have to open? No, let's go to our reservation table here. And oops, I wanted the branch icon. Because our trip date is in date format. It's not text. It's in date format. So we're going to leave it without that. And I'm going to have to retype it. Okay, select count trip date from reservations where trip date equals 2016-07 asterisk semicolon. Let's see what we get now. We are still getting a nice little error because of this asterisk. What if I leave it blank? Let's run it again. Still an error. So we have a bit of an issue, don't we? So even if I add 2 asterisks here, nothing. What if I add a percent sign? Percent sign in SQL is also like a random, include all kind of thing. We're still getting nothing. So what if I just go 2016-07? Anything? Not a thing. Reservations, trip date, all of that is spelled correctly. So let's try adding our text, but our still nothing. Well, here's the thing, guys. SQL has upgraded. And it no longer will let me do like a random value, so to speak. Now, if I looked at one of these trips, let's see, select from reservations, let's run it. And let's do 2016-07-09 dash 09. And you see, it's not counting. It's still not counting. So how do we fix that? And we know there's at least one. And it's still not counting. It's saying, no, doesn't work. Sorry. Because this reservation has been date formatted, it doesn't want to count it. So you could do something and go into your reservations here. And I want to take the trip date And data type says date. I'm going to change it. I'm going to say char. And let's see, 2016, there's 4-5, 2 numbers, 7, a -8, and 2 numbers, 10. And I'm going to say apply. And it's going to do the code for me. That's the best thing I like about SQL, guys, is you don't have to do all the code. It will do some for you. And it's going to say, okay, you want to alter the Cody Adventures reservation table. You want to change the column trip date to trip date, character 10, null, default null. Let's see, yes, apply. Finish. Yay. And so now if I go back, and I go back to my reservations, and now I say, hey, count this. We're still not getting anything. Why aren't we getting anything? Well, because I've had it open, and it's still counting off the old stuff. So I'm going to close it, open up a new SQL tab, and I'm going to say select, count, trip, underscore date. Why isn't our trip date coming up? Trip date is right there. From reservations where trip date equals 2016-07. See if we get anything now. And look there, it says 0. Well, why is that? Let's go back to our reservations and look. Yep, it's 07, but we're missing a few things there. So 07-09. Let's see if it'll count that one. It didn't even count our 09, but it should have. Well, let's look at our formatting again. Maybe I missed something. 2016-07. 09. 2016-07, 09. Yep, that's what it says. Let's try this again. 2016-07, 09. There it is. Hey, it counted 2. So we need why? Because now we're characters and not a date. So we have to have those quotation marks. So let's try if I just do 2016-07. Well, you see it says, hey, 0. We don't have any that say that. So what if I add a dash and an asterisk? We're still going to get 0, guys. It is the format of the date. That's essentially what's causing that. I could list all of them, or you could do something very simple. You could say trip date is greater than 2016, and you could do this without changing it to a character. You could do the same thing. 07, 01, no, not 07. It's greater than 06-01, 06-30. And trip date is less than 2016. 2016-08-01. So now let's run it and see what we get. And there is the answer, 5. And that's the correct answer. There are 5 trips scheduled for July. That is how you can get that to work. And you can do that before you change it to a character. It can remain a date. And you can use the greater or less than. And it will give you exactly what you want and the answer that you need for that question. There's the answer right there, 5. It takes 5. So let's talk about reflection now, and then we are done. Only 15 minutes over. What comes after the select keyword? Ding, ding, ding. Yes, you are absolutely correct. The column name comes after the select keyword. What comes after the from keyword? Yeah, the table name. Absolutely. You guys are picking this up very, very quickly. So, what clause do you use to filter data with a specific condition or set of conditions? Yes, the where clause. That's how we filter our data. Okay, guys, that's it. And that is the key to your assignment. Everything that we just did, you're going to be doing on your assignment. It's just going to be assignment specific. Your questions are not hard. You're going to open up your worksheet, which is, let's go into your assignment here. We must have a low-flying airplane. Can you guys hear that? That's an airplane. We have a few crop fields around us. Thank goodness. I'm in a rural area, so we have a few crop fields around us that dust and fertilize and things like that. Come on. Yeah. I want my worksheet. Open up. Okay, I had this downloaded already because I was afraid something like that would happen. I don't know why it doesn't want to open. And you're going to open up your assignment 1. It is a really simple. Yeah, that must be a crop airplane. It's back. Okay, it's very, very simple. You're just going to go through each one of these questions and you are going to give your answers. And you're just going to ask them, put in your select statement, and go through each one. You're going to be using selecting from for every single one. Most of them, you're going to have to add that where clause because it's going to ask you something very specific. I opened it. Yeah, it doesn't want to open. Come on. Be nice. Okay, this is your worksheet, and this is what it's going to look like. You're going to answer each of the first 11 questions using the Colonial Adventures Tours data. And you're going to use MySQL Workbench to do this. So you scroll down here to your first one. It says list the first and last name of each guide that lives in ME. You, why does that keep happening? Okay, you can do that very simple. We just went over that several times. You're going to do a select first name, last name, first name, comma, last name from the guide table where the state equals ME and run it, and it's going to give it. You're going to take a simple screenshot. So let's do number 1 together. Erase all of that, and we're going to do select first name, comma, last name from guide where state equals ME, yes, ME, semicolon, and run it. And there it is. You're going to take a simple screenshot. So I'm going to open up my snippet sticking tool here. And I'm going to say new. And I'm going to take a nice little picture. You can take a picture of the whole thing like that. Or you can just show me your results. Oops. And I accidentally closed it. New, you can take a screenshot of just the results. I'm going to say copy, go over here to Word, and paste. And there's my screenshot. And you're going to go on to the next one. List the trip name of each trip that has a maximum group size greater than 18. Your query is right there, guys. Let's see if we can make it smaller so I can see it. Here we go. And pull it up right beside my workbench. Whoops. And so we need to say, let's see, list the trip name of each trip that has a maximum. So it's going to be the trip table. It looks like I don't have my table names open for my trip table. So there we go. So I need to list the trip name, and it's just trip underscore name. I can say trip underscore name from the trip table that has a maximum group size greater than 16. So let's see on that trip table again, max group size. I'm going to copy this. Copy it, go back here, where paste max group size is greater than 16. There's one. The Sawyer River Ride. Well, let's see if that's true. Here, and I'm going to go to trip. And let's see. Max group size. I can click on that column and it automatically sort it for me, which is awesome. We want greater than 16. Yep, there's only one, and it's the Sawyer River Ride. So I know my query was correct. That's what this is. This is called a query. So I did it right. So take a screenshot, paste it in there. And then the next one is essentially the same. List the trip name and the distance of each trip that has the type hiking, and then has a distance longer than 10 miles. So your statement is going to look a little bit different, right? If we look at our table names, our trip table, we have a trip name. List the trip name, okay? Then the distance of the trip, there's a distance column, and a type column. So you would want something like your trip name, yes, from trip, where, see, what's the first one? Distance. Wait a second. List the trip name and distance. So trip name, comma, distance, where, type, now you see this. Did you guys see what happened there? It turned it blue. Look at our table names again. Nope, it says type. Now, when this happens, I want to explain something to you guys. When it turns blue, that means it's some sort of SQL statement. You should never name your columns that are exactly like a operator or function or something like that, because it's going to end up causing you issues. Now, in this case, I'm pretty sure it will still work, but let's find out. Where the type equals hiking and the distance equals, no, is longer than, so greater than 10. Oops. Greater than 10. Let's see what happens. And it gives us 1. And it still took it. My advice to you is to never let that happen. I would, in my type here, instead of just naming it type, I would say trip underscore type. Apply, finish, and then go back here and change that. Why? Because when you get this onto your web server, you may end up with some issues, and it end up causing a server error, and that's something you absolutely want to avoid. So I would change it to trip type instead of distance type. And still it pulls up the one that is longer than the others. And we know that is true because anything greater than 10 that has hiking. Let's see. Greater than 10. Wait, let's do it this way. Hiking. All of these. Not greater than 10, not greater than 10. There's 1. It's 16. This one is greater than 10 too. So it didn't pull them all. Let's go back and look at this. It should be pulling the one that says 12 too. Hiking and distance greater than 10. Huh. Nope, there's 2. Why aren't you working? Pulled all those. Is it some reason counting 12? No. Greater than 10. Type equals hiking, and the distance equals 10. Greater than 10. There's a few. There's hiking. Oh, that's the mass group size. Oops, I'm looking in the wrong column. Okay, let's see. That might be the correct answer. That's greater than 10, and that's hiking. Yep, that's it. There's only one. So that's how you do those type of questions, guys. You may have to use your and. You may have to use some ors here. And then we have your list the trip ID and trip name of each trip that has the type biking and then has the season early fall. Oh, those are easy. Your and or there will work perfectly there too. So you're just going to go through these steps, guys. I hope that plane's planning. I'm finishing soon. You're going to go through each one of these steps and answer these questions. If you have any trouble whatsoever, let me know. But we have gone through every one of the scenarios you are going to go use to figure out this assignment. And then there is the last few questions, which is basically unnormalizing the book table. Basically, you're going to list it with the column names that you need and so forth. So you have a database that comes to you called book, and has a book ID, a table, and tells you whether it's hardcover or not, gives the price, the publisher ID, the name, and the city. And you need to actually make this into a usable database. Well, you would do that by creating two columns, right? Because all of that information is not related. In some way or another, it's related, but not specifically related. You want to separate things in groups. Well, you have all the book information, and you have the publisher information. And since it's not just, if you had one column that said publisher, then I'd say, yeah, keep them all together. That's fine. But you don't. You have a book ID and you have a publisher ID. Well, that ID is a very significant thing because that means they've organized those publishers specifically. Well, that means they deserve two different tables. It basically indicates that that column, whichever column they're calling an ID or number, is usually unique, meaning each set of data in that column has its own unique number or ID, meaning there's no duplicates. And those are considered primary keys. And in a database, those are very important to integrity. So anytime you see when customers send you data, and a lot of times it comes in Excel, you will learn how to do that in your next PRG 240 class. So right now, I'm not going to pile all that information in your brain and have you try to make sense of it. I'm just going to leave it nice and short and simple at this. If you see a column that says number or ID, you always want to flag it. And then you want to either look through the data yourself or ask the customer, because they're going to know, does every single person or product or whatever it is that has that number or ID have its own unique number or ID? If they say yes, that means that column is automatically a primary key. If you have two columns in the same database that all have unique numbers or IDs, whoop, ding, 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 that should tell you you need more than one table. And one table needs to contain all the information that applies to this one primary key. And the next table needs to hold all the information that applies to this other primary key. So that's what you're doing for this database. So in the book database, where the question marks are here, you're simply going to tell me what columns you would put in the book database. And then for the publisher database, tell me what columns you would put there. And then you're going to tell me about the dependencies with the appropriate attributes. We already know these book IDs, as I just told you, are primary keys. So these are going to be primary keys, right? So what are they dependent on? Well, the book ID is dependent on what? The title. And what else? Yes, that's it right there. It's dependent on the title, it's dependent on the hardcover, and it's dependent on the price. And the publisher ID is dependent on, yep, that's it, the name of the city. And then we have number 13, the Colonial Adventures Tours, ERD, Entity Relationship Diagram is shown below. The attributes for the customer table are missing. So you're going to tell me what all of those columns need to be. Well, guys, it's very simple. Go back over to MySQL, hover over it, and click on that wrench icon. And there they are. That's all of them right there. Customer number, last name, first name, address, city, state, postal code, phone. List them. Or you want to do it the simple way? Copy it. Come over here. Paste your screenshot. There it is. And you're done. So guys, this was the key to the assignment. You can do this, but if you have any trouble whatsoever, send me an email, send me a text message, give me a call. And I promise you, I will walk you through it and we'll make sure you're understanding what you need to do. I will see you guys tomorrow.